Hello, all.
Hi everyone.
Good evening, good morning.
Good morning. I'll be back in a minute.
Preseason hockey started yesterday, but I don't get preseason games, and so I'm sad. I have to wait another month almost.
Is that because to get it in New Zealand would be silly expensive?
Well, it is. It is remarkably expensive. I would have to get an NHL subscription, which is I think like 120 US, and then I have to get Sky Sport, which like is another 400 New Zealand or something like that. And then yeah, and then I could get it in New Zealand. However, my sister lives in Missouri and has a Hulu subscription, so I get a VPN and hit that. And so the VPN cost me like 80 bucks New Zealand, and then for the year, and then I just log into her I log into ESPN using her Hulu account because Disney, Hulu, ESPN is all the same thing. And I get NHL for free. Plus, I have a VPN.
When is the NHL season starting?
So the first Dallas Stars game was yesterday, but it's a preseason game, and it doesn't look like I'll be getting that. It doesn't look like they're airing preseason games. They might as it gets closer to the regular season, but that's not until mid-October. So I have, I guess, 3 weeks.
Cool. Enjoy.
I've got my jersey ready.
The green one.
Yeah.
Let's wait another minute to see if someone else join. Shall we get started? Thumbs up. Okay, let's go. Okay, welcome to another Open Community working meeting. Let's start with some housekeeping. I'm going to share my screen. As always, let's start with the meeting etiquette. We would like to record the meeting to share it with the community and also in YouTube. So if someone is again sharing this in YouTube, just let me know in a direct message and I'll take care and upload this one. We encourage everyone to challenge any language or behavior that is harmful, not inclusive, or against our code of conduct. We'll try to remain on mute when other person is speaking and use the Zoom reactions for us for a turn to speak. And for today, we have a great agenda. Issue 408, identify the list of critical interfaces. This one is regarding the roadmap. Another issue that we didn't have time the previous week to cover. We should all agree in what constitutes an implementation. And finally, two other items. First, check on the progress of the stable release to see if we have some updates or impediments or something to highlight. And finally, an update about the new website rollout that is planned to complete this week if everything goes as planned. We still have time to add more topics to the agenda, so if you have something in mind, just add a comment, edit the issue, or just send a message in the TSC Slack channel. Any comments so far? Cool. Before getting started, I'm going to review the action items of the previous call. Is this one? We had a discussion about the pull request of that blog post referring to study, and we agreed in creating a GitHub discussion. So we have a conversation about that, and we agreed in providing feedback. The conversation is going on. I still have to provide mine, but I think that, we are progressing to call it in some way. So yeah, and the rest of the time we spend it with a very long but fruitful conversation about issue 472. What current features should be considered unstable? Thank you, Greg, because I didn't have time to put the notes together, but I saw your comment. Go ahead, Greg.
On the blog post thing, the previous item that we were talking about, there was a very, very large response to Jason's comment, and I'm wondering if one of us or more of us need to go through their write-up with a fine-tooth comb and like really, really review it from a JSON schema expert point of view. I don't know what that kind of thing would, I don't know how that kind of thing would be perceived. On one hand, it feels like it needs to be done, but on the other hand, it feels like we're not being inclusive and not being accepting of their work. I don't know. Maybe it can be done in a constructive way and not just being critical of the effort that they've put in.
Yeah, I'm finding this situation difficult because their tone, not just in the discussion, but also in the paper, is very condescending and arrogant, and it's not clear to me that they're interested in having a reasonable discussion about this stuff. So I feel like it's something that needs to be done, but I'm concerned that they're not in a place that they're going to be listening to what we say. They're just going to be looking to, win the argument.
Yeah, I'm worried about escalation in this.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to, like, I was going to respond to him, and one of the things I'm hoping to say is, you know, we have not started this conversation off with from a place of mutual respect, and I'd like to continue it from that place, and hopefully in doing so reframe the conversation in a way that's productive, because at this point it's not, it's just
Right.
adversarial.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to quickly review that before we move on. Thanks, Ben.
And my plan is to go through and through the paper and pull out at least some of the things that I think are wrong, but it'll take time. I won't do it all at once, because
Yeah.
it would probably take several days.
I agree.
Ben, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that struck me from some of the stuff I've read, I haven't read this discussion, but I remember reading from some of the other chatting, is that originally there was if I'm remembering correctly, originally they said that there was one paper, and the other part of the paper, which were published separately as a different thing, was proposing a new solution, or a completely different solution. And it feels like they've come at this from trying to find arguments to support their idea or their direction or the thing that they've created, rather than starting at the other end and actually trying to find and understand what they perceive as deficits or problems. So yeah, it feels like they've gone about this in the opposite way, trying to support their work rather than actually trying to really identify problems and therefore solving things. That was just something I wanted to add in from my observations.
Juan?
Gonna say that I think that Ben is touching on the core of it, which is that probably the reason why the conversation is not being productive, as Jason said, is that they're not really intending that to be productive. They're not trying to engage with us to help make JSON schema better. They probably don't care about JSON schema. What they want to do is create something else. And that makes me wonder how much, even no matter how many conversations we try to do, they are not, it doesn't seem to be in their point of interest to actually contribute something to our group.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's important that we do address some of these issues, though, just because there is a paper, there's an academic paper out there, and if we're not, pointing out the things that are wrong with it, nobody else will. So it feels like it has to be done, even if they're not interested in hearing us.
Okay. Let's just do it with some tact, please.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. To go back to Juan's argument, what I'm going to add in my feedback or my comment in the discussion is try to clarify what is the intent regarding JSON schema community or JSON schema itself. So what are their goals? Because as everyone is saying, it seems that they are pursuing their own interest. So, and if there is no benefit for the community or for JSON schema or for the ecosystem, I mean, if there is no benefit at all, I think that we should do first what Jason and everyone is saying, like make sure that we are addressing all the comments because of the paper is going to be there and this discussion is public. So make sure that we invested time in replying everything. And secondly, if we are if we intend to appear or be open, we are just defending the interest of the community and JSON schema. If they don't have any interest on those elements, unfortunately, we can publish the blog post as it is, but at least the conversation is there. So they had something of the things that they were looking for, probably.
I think asking them that directly won't be helpful because I can't imagine that they would acknowledge that they have a particular agenda and they're working on it backwards, because that would be bad science, and that would mean they submitted a bad paper, a bad faith academic work. And even if they did do that, then they're not going to confess to it. So I'm not sure that that's a useful thing to do, to ask them if they have a particular agenda here.
I'll try. I mean, not particular agenda. It's just make sure that there is at least a small benefit for the community. It's not like what are your goals? They already replied what they are pursuing, but I just wanted to make sure that what is the people getting from this? What is our community and the project? Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's just we are having the technical discussion, and Jason and Greg are full in on that, and I will try to have a parallel discussion about the benefit for the community. Let's see if that helps to reduce the escalation. Any other comment regarding this one? I'm sorry for going through this issue too quickly. So yeah, thank you, Greg, for raising your hand. So yeah, we needed to speak about this.
Thanks, Ben. Carry on.
Okay, cool. And the second discussion, what items should be considered unstable. I just wanted to thank you for making the time to put together all the discussion. So it was extremely helpful for me, and I'm sure that everyone. So yeah, I added this to the issue itself, like direct link to the discussion. Any comment regarding this issue? Because we didn't capture specific action items, but I think that it was a great discussion. Okay. Let's go with today's agenda. First item, following the order, issue 408, identify a list of critical interfaces that the implementation should have and empower implementers with better resources. This is yours, Ben. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I just add this to agenda to keep people aware of it. And I was going to ask Julian for an update, but he isn't with us today. But it looks like there has been some discussion and there has been some work moving that forward, so that's good to see. And I haven't checked in on this issue myself recently. I see Greg's left a few comments. Is there anything you'd like to briefly mention, Greg?
We had a PR or a discussion in a PR that I actually merged this morning regarding what an implementation should do if a ref resolution fails. And the discussion basically resulted in an implementation you should use its native mechanisms to error or return some kind of indeterminate result, neither a validation pass nor fail. So as I mentioned, I've merged a PR to do that. And then I also linked that discussion over to here looks like back in July, but I brought it back up. Or no, it looks like 2 weeks ago, I linked it over to that discussion, and Julian and I had a little bit of back and forth as to whether some kind of error mechanism constitutes one of these interfaces. I don't know. Julian thinks that it probably doesn't, but my point of view is that it's now in the spec, that the implementation should be able to return an indeterminate result of some kind. And so I don't know if that warrants inclusion in here. It'd be good to get other opinions in the issue.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's raised some good questions. We'll definitely have a look into that. Excuse me. Yeah, it looks like there's some progress on that. I know there is a list of features, they're not fully filled in yet. So I'm going to be knocking on Julian's door to get those filled in a bit more over the next few weeks. Yeah, that's what I wanted to raise, just to do progress and comments. So yeah, hand back to you.
Thanks, Ben. I'm going to share my screen again to see what is the next item in the agenda. We should all agree in what constitutes an implementation. Is the issue in the speak repo 1440. This is yours, Greg. Greg, sorry, Jason. Any comment?
Yeah, I think we've since come to an agreement, at least me and Greg. I think we're the only ones involved in this conversation, but yeah, it's we're talking about spec related stuff, and we're trying to decide what an implementation means. And really, this is just like a proxy for the question of like, what is the scope of the core spec? Is it talking about just validator and annotator implementations, or is it also include other types of implementations like CodeGen, which doesn't do validation or annotation? And I think we agreed that the core spec applies to all of these things that are JSON schema related, including CodeGen. I don't know exactly what that we would call those implementations, or if we should, just refer to validation implementations as implementations and then call those other kinds of things something else, because it's confusing, or what, but
Yeah, there's another dividing line here of having an implementation, or having an application that uses an implementation, or having an application that has its implementation built into where it's not like just some separate library it's using, it's integrated. And the line is blurry is the problem. So the example I use in this discussion is like a CLI. Like I can wrap my validator in a CLI really easily, and PowerShell, for example, use it, but PowerShell is test JSON command uses my implementation, does that make PowerShell does that make that commandlet an implementation? I don't know. It exposes JSON schema functionality, sort of. But it doesn't have any actual implementation code in it. It uses a separate library. Whereas I think Karen has a CLI implementation where it's all integrated and it's just available as a CLI. So is that an implementation? I don't know. I don't know where to draw the line, but it seems like we need to draw the line somewhere. And then also to Jason's point, there's other uses besides validation. So I think I think we have two axes of gradient here of where the lines could be drawn. And I don't know I could make a suggestion, but I can't say that my suggestion is any more right than someone else's suggestion.
Yeah, I think where this question is important is just having shared vocabulary so that we all understand what we're saying when we use these words. Yeah, I agree that it's not really clear what you would call an implementation, what you would not. I would err on the practical side, like, you know, if it walks like an implementation and quacks like an implementation, it's an implementation. So like I would say the CLI example is definitely counts as an implementation, even if it's based on some other library that's that the person who wrote that CLI doesn't even maintain.
But
I
would
would
we
just
put
look at it from
would
the
we
outside.
put that CLI wrapper on our implementations page?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
And that's a really good example of like why this question matters. It's like why do we need to just define what's an implementation? Yeah, I would put it specifically in section 4 CLI, which I believe we do have, and also include a note on there that it uses, you know, whatever implementation under the hood.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be practical here, and from an ecosystem growth perspective, the more implementations, the better, and the more implementers, the better. So if we reduce or make the definition like more constrained, I see less benefits than making that like more open and include the 3 cases that you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to make a
like
distinction? I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead.
No. I'm just going to repeat myself again. So
Okay.
please go ahead.
Do we want to make a distinction between an implementation and a tool?
I don't know.
Because you could say that the CLI is a tool, whereas the implementation is whatever. And then it goes blurry when the tool has its implementation integrated into it.
It can be both.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the reality is that in the implementations page, we have a great amount of JSON schema tooling right now. So
Yeah.
I think that is good that we make the effort on provide a definition of implementation. It's not going to solve all the doubts that the people can have, but at least it's going to make it more clear, the concept. And in the end, I mean, yeah.
What about something like an application that just does a thing, a separate non-JSON schema thing, but then uses JSON schema to validate some user configuration, and if the configuration is bad, it provides the JSON schema output to say their configuration is bad.
But is that logic your own, or you are using someone else's implementation? Because
It doesn't matter. We just decided that it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the question is the application JSON schema implementation / tooling, or is it just using JSON schema? And I would argue that it's just using JSON schema at that point. But where do we draw that line? Like, I mean, what if that application is something like Photoshop, where it has a configuration that it's validating the configuration file with JSON schema, but its function is not anything related to JSON schema.
Maybe we can add like something like the primary purpose is JSON schema related. No, it's like a secondary functionality that tool or library is doing, right? Like primary purpose, and it's like on his own, it can be used by others, right? I don't know if I said something helpful at this point or not, but if it's validating JSON because the main use case is any other thing, maybe it's not an implementation. But if it's an implementation because he performs a lot of JSON schema functionality, in my opinion, yes, simplistic opinion.
Yeah. Maybe we retitle the implementations page to be implementations and tooling, and then we don't make a distinction between the two.
I mean, in theory, an implementation is some sort of tooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be just tooling.
Maybe tooling and implementations like it can be a funny discussion. Yeah. I think that in my suggestion is create a definition, put it in the glossary of the documentation, and keep going with the documentation as it is. And as soon as we get traction with implementers, because we have an item in the roadmap to increase the engagement with them, we can go back and see what they think about the implementations page and speak with them to evolve it and see if the page as it is helpful for them or not. So we can wait for a better moment to change that page, but at least have a definition, or have a proposal of definition and ask them to see how they feel about that.
Yeah.
As soon as we launch the new website, I'm almost done with a survey for implementers. So maybe we can include a question for definition of implementation, or asking them about if they are clear about what an implementation means or something like that. So we can use it for a better closing of the discussion.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, as soon as I have the draft ready for feedback, I'll let you know, and I will add a comment in the issue pointing to the question and the full survey. Any other comment on this topic? Cool. I'm going to share my screen again and go back to the agenda. Okay, next item in the agenda is a quick check, or not too quick, on the progress of the stable release. So this is the how the project looks like. I think the Greg proposal of renaming the columns is much more clear. So yeah, it's great. And all of you, Greg, Jason, as primary contributors of this project, something to highlight for this week, or an impediment, or issue that has priority for any of you?
No, a lot of the ones that are in progress are PRs that I've opened and actually have been approved. We're just waiting our policy 2 weeks to see if we can get other people to comment on them. The first one, extract output to its own spec. Actually, I think Jason's approved it. Ben has approved it. But Karen was a big proponent of this, and I would really like her comment on it at least. And I haven't gotten that. So I'm kind of waiting on her to do that. I did ping her in Slack, I think late last week, or over the weekend or something. But yeah, I'd like to get her opinion on the progress there. I have noticed that she's looking at some of the other PRs, so she's as active as she can be. There are a couple that are in draft. I think Jason, the drop the initial resolve step, that one still needs to be updated to the markdown. I think it's still in XML right now. I did also leave a couple comments on that in the XML form. Just when you get to updating that. And then also Jason's helping me on the extract property dependencies one, where we're pulling that into the first keyword proposal document. So I've got another PR that puts a template up for keyword proposals or feature proposals. And we have the extract property dependencies one as the first iteration of that. Jason, do we have another keyword that's proposed that we're planning on adding, right? I think so.
I think the other one that was that's in there is the contains for objects. That's in the spec right now that needs to be extracted. The other one that was that I mentioned that was in discussion was require all except.
That's right. That's the one I was thinking.
I'm not sure that one's, well, I guess at this point, like the bar is lower to submit a proposal. So maybe we don't need full agreement on that just to make it a proposal.
Right. So those are the big things right now. Other things have been approved and just waiting. The things in a waiting PR is what we should agree what constitutes an implementation. Jason and I decided that it's probably not something for the spec. Just throw something in the glossary at best. So that's not going to be a spec PR. That's going to be like a website PR, or understanding JSON schema, wherever the glossary is, and then cleanup of stable features is just kind of it's a checklist of things. Most of the stuff that's in progress.
Yeah, and what's important about that determining what an implementation means from the course perspective is, or from the spec perspective is the decision that anything that is in core is talking about any type of implementation, not just validation and annotation. Again, I don't know that that's something we need to put anywhere in the spec or in the glossary or anything necessarily, but I think just that we're all on the same page, that that all of those things are covered by core.
Core is mandatory of any implementation.
Right. Which kind of also brings up that that discussion that we were kind of having in Slack about whether applicators needs to be in core.
Yeah.
It's
I think
not
we need to
really
make it.
necessary.
I think maybe we need to make a distinction between the core spec and the core vocabulary. Because if there is a distinction right now, maybe we don't need that. We can continue that discussion in Slack. I'm sure we all have feelings on how that should go. But yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comment before jumping to the last item of the agenda? Cool. The project board is looking great. So there was a huge progress. I mean, the progress was there all the time, but at least the board is helping to see the items moving to the done. So the done column. So congrats for the hard work. Okay, I'm going to share my screen for the last time. And I like to share with you all the status of the the website. So the website is ready. Is this one? So we just spoke about the glossary. The glossary is somewhere. Where is the glossary? Here. So we have dialect draft. So maybe this is the right place for putting the definition of implementation. Anyway, so the purpose of this moment is review together or share with you the plan for launching the website. So the development is done, and the focus of my work for this week is going to make sure that we are not missing any update in the website because I did a first review of content in May, but I need to make sure that I'm not missing any of the changes I included during the summer. That's include the blog, new implementations, and small changes in the documentation. So this is going to happen along the week. Today we're 25th of September, and my intent is have everything ready for the end of the week and launch the new website next Monday. I just have a direct message conversation with Ben this morning because there are some changes that needs to be done in Cloudflare. I can do it, but considering that I wasn't the one configuring the previous website, so I asked him to help me with the small changes when we are going to switch off the old site and set up the new one. So that's going to be super helpful for me. Just because we need to disable the old website and some pipelines that we have for and GitHub actions and so on. So if we launch the 2nd of September, next Monday, I will prepare some comms, and that's it. I sent a message in the private TST channel regarding this, so I will encourage everyone that is in that channel to take a look to my comment and give some guidance about something that we need to check before launching the website.
So what are we doing to keep the old website in sync as the new stuff is being developed? I just put a PR in Slack for an issue that happened on the PR that happened on the Understanding JSON Schema site. Is stuff like that getting ported over?
Yeah, it's going to be manual, done by me. So we don't have any
Yeah.
automatic. So I have some tooling running in the shadows to make sure that there are no broken links. I have a comparison between the two commits, one in May or something like that, the last time that I made a migration. But I'm going to basically review everything and make the changes manually, because it's not like the markdown or some of the things in the new website are not exactly working the same thing. So I need to adjust the thing. So this is why I'm going to spend the week doing all those checks. So it's manual. Sorry for being too school on this.
Yeah, is it helpful for us to give you a list of things that have changed, or or do you already have something like that, or?
I can share with you all what I have in a Slack conversation. So what are the checks and how I'm finding the changes that I need to include, and you can provide me feedback. If something is missing, of course, a list of changes is going to be helpful. But as at first read, everything seems like production ready or production like. So yeah, up to you all. But I'd like to hear your feedback about or some feedback about how I'm approaching this content validation and migration. So yeah, I send a message tomorrow morning. So yeah, we hopefully we'll be celebrating the new website next week.
That would be very exciting.
Woo! Okay. Any other comment on this or any other thing? Cool. Ben, we were together the past week in Bilbao, but we don't have any picture about us together, so we need to change this for the next event. No pictures at all.
Yeah.
And we spent like 60 hours together. Anyway,
Yeah,
so it was a great event. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. There were a number of good talks. Some of the talks were not amazing, but there were a number of really good talks, and met a few really interesting people that are really helpful. So I did write notes during the sessions, and I'll share those publicly very soon, and including some of the people that I met, and what we might be chatting with them about in the future. So yeah, I'm gonna get that out as soon as I can. I've just all the stuff that needs to come first. But yeah, I think it's quite exciting, and some of the talks are definitely worth checking out once the recordings are made available.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that we can wrap up for today. Thank you for making the time and for the great discussions. Enjoy the rest of the day, and let's keep discussing in Slack and GitHub. Take care, everyone. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ben.
Bye-bye.